Hello, everyone. Hello. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Born to Lead docuseries. I am your host, Dr. Jacqueline Kaba-Harrison, and I am so excited that you have decided to join us again for another episode. Of course, my computer wants to update as soon as I go live, right? Okay, just had to dismiss it. I don't want you guys to me to be recording. All of a sudden, it just goes poof. At any rate, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the Born to Lead docuseries, which is actually a component of the Eight Queens Roundtable show and podcast. I'm sorry, did you say where can you join us or how could you find us? I can answer that for you. We are streaming exclusively on the Realizing Your Potential TV network, which streams on platforms such as Amazon Fire TV, Roku TV, Apple TV. Let's see, also on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and we are also in your app store for your iOS app store and your Android app store. So go ahead, grab it, download it. It's free, and check out not only this video, but all of the other videos that are a part of the Born to Lead docuseries. And I'm always super excited. Why? I enjoy interviewing people and meeting new people. I think you all that have been following me for a while kind of know that, right? So I always get really excited when it's time to bring a new guest into the studio. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my guest before I bring her in. Her name is Faith. Faith is the CEO and principal consultant of Alo Civitas Consulting. I'm sure I didn't say that right, but she will correct me once she joins us. Consulting LLC, where she focuses on building capacity for change with business and community leaders, nonprofit executives, and entrepreneurs. She does this through 3 core service tiers: professional development, grant management, and strategic planning. All that we do ties back to its namesake, which means nourishing communities. Outside of business, Faith loves to spend time with her husband, her 2 dogs, and serving her local community. So I hope you are as excited as I am to have Miss Faith join us in the studio. Well, hello there, Faith. How are you?
I am doing well. Thank you so much for having me on.
So the first correction is pronounce the name of the company for me.
It's okay. I purposely chose a weird name of my company as a conversation starter. It is Alo Civitas Consulting. So you got the second part right.
Alo Civitas.
Yes. And It means nourishing communities in Latin.
Okay. All right. Nice. Well, welcome. So go ahead and tell us a little bit more about your company, and definitely include how did this all come about and how long have you been doing this type of work?
Sure. So I always like to start off saying that I didn't feel like I was drawn to entrepreneurship. It kind of brought me in, which is ironic because I have owned a business for the last 10 years. I started a business while I was in college, just as a way to help pay for school. Started a Mary Kay business, when I was in college, just to help pay the bills and to get me exposure to professional development. Even though I grew up in a household where a leadership kind of came naturally to me. My dad is a leadership development trainer. He's done literally entrepreneurship my entire life. 33 years, he's been an entrepreneur. And so leadership and that kind of thing was really natural to me, but I wouldn't necessarily say I gravitated towards it and saw myself as a leader or as a entrepreneur, especially full time. And then throughout my college journey and into my professional journey after college, was always drawn to places and spaces where I would be helping people in different capacities. If you asked me what I wanted to do growing up, or if you asked me even in college what I wanted to do, that was always my answer is I want to help people. What that looked like, I didn't really care as long as I knew it was mission driven and service aligned. And then as opportunities, started presenting themselves through my network, through people that I went to school with, through mentors, I kept getting drawn into the nonprofit and program development space, which is what my master's is in. My master's is in higher ed, and it was really a program development focus. So I learned how to create programs from scratch, market them, fundraise for them, budget for them, write the curriculum, like do all the things that now I do through my business. But had the opportunity to put those skills into practice through a variety of nonprofit roles, through local universities, public health departments, and nonprofits. And then after building up other people's programs a couple of times and helping them become successful and sustainable, I realized I was building a very unique skill set that not a lot of people had in program development. And so just kind of out of the blue one day, went to my husband and, had some thoughts and prayer deliberation, was like, what if I do this on my own? Didn't really think it was ever going to happen, but started my LLC on a whim, did nothing with it for a year because, that's how things happen sometimes. And then my husband's job after he graduated from medical school and he matched at residency at Ohio State, I was like, okay, maybe it's time to actually do something with this business, and did the work to secure some clients, to, really hone in on what we were doing, not just we have this business, now what? And I've been full-time now for 2 years. It will be 2 years literally this week, which is insane. And started out just me. And now I actually have 3 staff that help support our company. Yeah, all in the last 3 years.
All right. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. And
Cool.
hearing you say that, because what you do in your business is what you were originally, well, you went to school for it and you were
Yeah,
originally doing that for someone else,
exactly.
and I just talking with different women over the years, sometimes something happens and they may have to pivot,
Yeah,
or sometimes they're just like, wait a minute, you know what? If I'm doing this for someone else, I can do it for myself.
exactly.
Of course, there's a lot of anxiety oftentimes that goes along with that,
Oh, yeah.
stepping outside of your comfort zone and, things of that nature. But just being able to, it's a transferable skill set.
Exactly. Yes. And as I've grown and evolved,
Mhm.
realize it's not necessarily a skill set that everyone has, which is great for marketing myself.
Yep.
It
That kind of carved out for you really, really nicely.
did. Yeah,
Okay. So I know you're in Ohio.
I am.
Is that where I mean, are you born and raised there? Have you always been there? Okay.
No, so my life has been a little bit mobile. I was born in Las Vegas, and a lot of my family still lives there. My grandma, my mom lives in Reno, a lot of my extended family. And then after my parents got divorced when I was 8 or 9, we moved to Texas. My dad's company that he owns was kind of relocating him to Texas. A lot of his big clients were there at the time. And so we moved half away across the country when I was in 4th grade and grew up there. Went to middle school, high school, college, met my husband there. He went to medical school at TCU in Fort Worth, Texas, and then we moved to Ohio 2 years ago thanks to the match process. And now we're in Ohio at least for the next couple of years while he's finishing his training.
Okay. Now, when you say the match process, what's that?
So, for the medical system, for physicians, they don't get to choose what hospital they necessarily work at. They apply to all the hospitals and specialties that they're interested in. and wherever they interview, they rank those hospitals, the hospitals rank them, and there is a patented algorithm that takes into consideration both sides to try to match you to the best fit program for you. And so that's how we ended up in Ohio, was through the match process. And we're very, very grateful to have ended up here. It's been a great community to support me, to support my husband, and the business community here in Ohio is absolutely incredible.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Nice to know all that's going on over there in Ohio.
Columbus, I feel like people think Ohio is kind of a meme, that like it doesn't really exist. It's just kind of like this black hole, but we were pleasantly surprised that there's actually things to do in Ohio.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm a Midwesterner, so I was born and raised in Michigan. So, I don't think that, but I recognize that other people like the East Coast, West Coast, Ohio is just kind of,
There.
one of those places. Like when people think of the Midwest, they think of Chicago.
Yeah.
And that's it. Maybe Wisconsin, maybe Detroit, so yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. But I know you guys had to get used to the weather though, right?
That's a very interesting topic. It does snow in Texas every year, at least 2 or 3 times, but our world shuts down. I always think back, I tell people, like, we lived through a almost 2-foot snowstorm in 2021. Our apartment had no power for a week, no water for 3 weeks. My husband literally was in medical school showering with water bottles, and I was living with a friend an hour away because she had running water and electricity. But it doesn't happen as often as it does in the Midwest, and the South is not prepared. So when we hear ice and snow for those 2 or 3 days that the weather is bad, like the world just shuts down. Schools are closed, grocery stores panic and like run out of produce. Gas doubles overnight. Like it's insane. In the Midwest, it's really gray in the winter. Like snow's on the ground, at least in Columbus, because we're central, right? So we get a couple of inches of snow a couple times throughout the winter. It's just very gray. We don't see the sun a lot.
Yeah, I know. Okay. All right. That was just kind of wanted to chat a little bit about that. Was interesting. Just, where people originated from and where they are now, and if they moved there, in particular for their business, things of that nature.
Yeah.
So let me ask this. Who is your ideal client? Who do you typically work with?
I would say the 2 main audiences that I work with are nonprofit leaders and small business owners, just given that that's kind of my area of expertise with owning a business for the last 10 years, but then also all the work that I did in the nonprofit space. And I really focus on mission-driven and value-focused leaders, just given that, I can teach a lot of things. I can help you with a lot of things. But if you don't have that like inner drive to do better, to be better, to serve others, we're not going to align.
I've never, so break that down again for me. So you work with what particular type of leaders? You said visionary.
So small business owners, so service-based small businesses, and then nonprofits. But with kind of the behind the scenes, what I really look for is like mission-driven and value-focused leaders.
Mission-driven and value-focused. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So give me an example. So I guess, like, for example, my company, Realizing Your Potential, that would be something that's, I guess, both mission-driven and value-focused. So what would not fall under that umbrella?
So for me, it's not as much the business itself, but the leader, who the leader is of the company. And normally that's why before I agree to work with someone, we always do, a discovery call, or we see if our energies and values align. Because I am a no nonsense kind of person. Like, I love to laugh, I love to giggle, but when it comes down to the root of it, you're paying me to help you change and to help you grow. And I need to work with someone who is willing to be accountable and someone who is rooted in a bigger cause than just themselves. Because when we have those days when we want to throw our business in the trash, or we've all been there, like, let's be real, we all have days that we were like, maybe I should go back to corporate America, or days for my nonprofit leaders that they're like, why in the world did I do this? Just like starting a business.
Right.
You have to be tied to something deeper in order to push through those hard times. So that's really what I focus on. is the quality of the people that I'm working with. They just happen to fall into the sectors of small business owners
Right.
and nonprofit
Gotcha.
executives.
I love that. And I don't think I've ever really, I don't like to say never,
Sure.
but it doesn't come to mind that I've even interviewed anyone that has said that, you know,
Well, I'm
and
glad to be the first.
yeah, it makes perfect sense, because like you said, it has to be a bigger why,
Yeah,
a bigger reason than just themselves or making money or whatever that they're doing this.
exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess that's probably a lot more rewarding too on your end, actually helping them bring that vision alive and to sustain it.
Exactly. Sustainable growth and sustainable change are a big focus of mine because it's one thing, you see those businesses or those organizations that are overnight successes. But if the infrastructure isn't built to be sustainable, burnout's going to happen, or no one is going to know who they are in a week from now, that like 5 seconds of fame. But if
Mhm.
if we're building you as a leader while we're also building your company or your organization, that's so much more sustainable.
Right. Right. Okay. Well, do you have anything else that you'd like to share with the audience? Because, of course, we're going to talk about leadership. That's the purpose of the Born to Lead docuseries. But also, I want, to give the audience an opportunity to understand, who Faith is, what she does, who she's looking to work for, or
Yeah.
who she's looking to work with. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And so I want them to get a chance to kind of get to know you and get a feel for you. So, is there anything else you'd like to share, I guess, in particular?
Sure. Thank you for that. One of the things that as time has gone on and I've started to evolve even within my own business now that I have staff that report to me, one of my new staff kind of asked, like, Faith, what's different about what we do, right? There's other business consultants, there's other nonprofit consultants, grant writers, insert any of the services that we offer. But like when I'm talking to people about who I work for, like what's different? And one of the things that I always like to mention and really took my staff aback too is that we are very full service. And what I mean by that is we're not just looking at the one service or one reason that you came to us, but we're looking holistically at who are you as a leader, as a business owner, as a nonprofit executive, and how are you looking to grow? So, how are you really ensuring that you're building the success sustainably? How are we making sure that you're putting the infrastructure in place, the right belief systems in place? We also offer some of that like back end administrative support with the research, the grant writing, any of those pieces that oftentimes business owners or nonprofit leaders don't have the time to do just because they're holding 17 pans to the fire, right? And they're just trying to get through the day and they're wearing all the different hats and can't always focus. So we can kind of be that like outside guidance. One of my clients said it best, and I tell Nicole that I tell people this all the time. She said, Faith, I drive the car of my business, but you are the GPS that tells me exactly where to go and how long it will take to get there. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, I need to trademark that, right? Like, obviously, I can't. But I think it shows that having an outside person really helps to drive change because I'm not in the day-to-day mess and
Mhm.
chaos of your life, of your business,
Mhm.
but you also are the guider of the ship, right? So you get to tell me where you want to go, and I and my team bring the expertise to help you get there.
Right, right. Okay. Nice. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you. And if anything else comes up, that you want to share, of course, feel free.
Okay.
So, as it pertains to leadership, I want to ask you, what are some of your biggest leadership takeaways that you can share with the audience?
Oh man. The two that come to mind at the beginning, and the others will probably pop into my head because that's just how my brain works. But the first one is actually something that I heard my dad saying a lot growing up. And given that my dad, is leadership development, like this stuff was ingrained in me from birth. But he always said that leadership development is actually personal growth.
Okay.
And I never fully understood what that meant until I was an adult, obviously, until I started being looked at as a leader in my field and within my own business. And I realized that the more that I pour into myself, the better that I'm able to serve up for my show up for my clients, for my team, for the communities that I serve. So I think that's a really good reminder for leaders is we have to take time for ourselves too. Especially like women leaders have such higher level of burnout than anyone else, especially women business owners and women corporate leaders, because we also wear 17 million other hats, even outside of our day job or out of our business. So I always like to remember or remind people, like, we have to take care of ourselves too, right? Like, you cannot give from an empty cup. By pouring into yourself, you're also able to pour into others. So I would say that's the first one. And the second one that is really important, I think, especially in today's society with the use of social media, is be your authentic self, because everyone else is already taken. When I first got into the entrepreneur world as a full-time entrepreneur, I felt that, I don't know if it was desire or imposter syndrome, I don't know what it was, but I felt the need, like every meeting that I went to or every networking event, it was like my business was changing because I wanted to be like that person. But it felt so inauthentic and draining because I wasn't showing up with my gifts, my talents, my experience, that I was actually like pushing away people more than attracting people. And finally, after about 6 months of doing that, I was like, what in the world am I doing? And I had a business coach say, Faith, just be you. Everyone else is already taken. And that like slapped me like a pound of bricks to the face. I was like, you're so right. And as I started showing up as my authentic self and started putting myself out there authentically, I started attracting the right people, not just as clients, but also my community to help grow me and to keep me accountable, because we can't do this alone.
Excuse me. It's amazing how the whole imposter syndrome, authenticity, authentic leadership. One of the previous guests, we just talked about authentic leadership, and it's just amazing to me how often that comes up. And I think especially for us as women, but it's very tempting to compare yourself to others, and especially if it's someone that's doing something maybe somewhat similar, let's just say, and they've gained some traction. It seems like people are really resonating with them, and things of that nature. It's almost like you get a feeling of, well, am I doing something wrong, or maybe I need to do some more of what they're doing. Oh, well, this person, because I know I did it, and I still do it now, every now and again. But I pulled myself back. I said, Jackie, what's your main goals? What are you working on for this quarter? Things of that nature. So it's a constant something that I have to be mindful of.
Definitely.
But the main thing I wanted to say, I know I'm kind of going all over the place here, but the main thing I wanted to say was that I find that often comes up: authentic leadership, and imposter syndrome, and not to compare yourself to others. I find that's so important every time.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, many of us have struggled with it, so it's going to keep coming up, and you have to hear the same advice 17 times before it actually sticks in your brain. The amount of times that I like hear myself regurgitating things that like my dad said growing up, or something I heard on a podcast 17 times, or a book that I read, and I'm like, okay, I finally got it. Like, it just took 3 years, right?
And it's so comfortable to be yourself, and not just in business, but just in life in general. Like when you show up in your business, when you show up, if you're working a business and you are in corporate, or you do something in the community or with your family, in every setting, when you show up as yourself, or put it like this: when you show up as who you think people are looking for, or some sort of expectations that you're meeting, that is draining.
It is.
You're running to each environment. Let me get that. Let me grab that hat. Let me go over here. Oh, let me switch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's draining.
It is. It really is.
Yeah. It's very draining. So, and I think we touched on this a little bit, guys, before we even started. in terms of like, watching other people do shows, do podcasts.
Yeah.
Some people are very scripted. They will send you the questions, and you're going to answer these exact questions, and they want to, how long it's going to take to answer that question and things of that nature. And that's fine. But it was a time where I felt like I needed to do that in order for my show to be, of quality, and people to get the most out of it. But it didn't resonate with me. It just
Yeah.
didn't resonate. And
Yeah.
it's like I always tell people, because some people get really nervous when I don't questions. And I'm saying, believe me, you're gonna be comfortable. Not gonna ask you anything that's gonna be, way out of left field, but a lot of times I don't even know what I'm gonna ask.
That's fair. It's just kind of based on the conversation.
Exactly. You'll say something and it'll make me think like, oh, well, let me ask her that. Or if I have a question about it, maybe the audience has a question about it. And so
Exactly.
that's kind of me coming into my own style, or my,
I
being
love
my
it.
authentic self as I'm doing my show. So
I love it.
now, do you find it? And I mean, I know that you work with strategy and so forth, but do you find that it's, well, do you work with women? Well, yeah, you work with women and men, right?
Yes.
Okay. So do you find that it's a little more challenging, or that comes up more with women, like the imposter syndrome, and leading or being authentic, how they show up? Do you find that that's a little bit more of an issue, if you will, for women?
I do think it is. And I think part of it is because women are so relationship oriented by nature. And I
Okay.
think we've been kind of taught as women or just as a society, like selling is icky, or,
Mhm.
selling is bad. So I feel like a lot of women in business or women in corporate, like it feels misaligned with who we are as people, or what our qualities are. But then if a man does the same thing, maybe that same expectation is not put on him. Like, I don't know, when I think of like a car salesman,
Mhm.
if a male car salesman is being like really, really pushy, you kind of just attribute it to their job. But I've experienced and seen and have that own bias, unfortunately, that I've put out there, that when the woman did the same thing, it was like, why is she being so pushy? Like, it was
Mm.
almost like this weird like programming from society. But I
Okay.
do feel like I see it more with um, women leaders in particular, the imposter syndrome, and the not knowing how to balance or harmonize between the different roles in our lives that we play.
Okay. 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 Not being able to harmonize, or not being able to balance. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I work primarily with women, and I notice it definitely. I will venture to say, out of 10 women entrepreneurs, at least 8 of them have experienced, imposter syndrome.
Sure.
You know, even if they've done it in their regular job,
Yeah.
their day job, their corporate job. Even if they've
Yeah.
done it, they still experience that imposter syndrome. So
Yeah, because it's their brand
mhm,
versus someone else's. And
that's
for
right.
some reason, when we're doing it for ourselves compared to other people, it feels different. Again, even I experienced that. I did the same dang things that I do in my business, but for another company, and never was weird about
Mhm.
pitching myself or knowing the quality of what I have to offer. And then because it's my brand and my business, for the first couple of months, it was like, I feel weird about reaching out. But when I switched my mindset to,
Yeah.
a lot of my interactions, I try to be very relationship oriented. I will share what I do. I'll see if it's a fit. Maybe it's not.
Maybe it's
But I
not.
truly believe that every relationship brings benefit, even if it's not financial, or maybe they're not my ideal client. But who do I know that could be for them, or they could be, support too? So I truly feel that every interaction and engagement, you're better off. So that's helped me too a little bit. I think when it comes to just sharing about my business and who I am,
Mhm.
it takes some of the pressure off of like, I have to sell every
Right.
time that I'm in a call, and the right people come to you.
Right. You know what? And I've had to do that as well. I've had to look at, because I have a presentation and I'll start to feel some kind of way about it,
Yeah,
but it's like, once I kind of step back and not make it like this has to happen. It may happen
exactly.
or it may not. And it doesn't mean that it's a bad product,
Yeah,
or things of that nature. It could just mean simply what you said. This is just not for this individual, or maybe not for this individual right now.
exactly.
So what I have found is that when I focus on the establishing a rapport, and people trusting me, like
Yeah,
I don't have to know everything. You know what I mean? Because
no,
I don't know everything. There's times that people are going to ask me something. I'm like, you know what? I'm not sure. Let me, you know, do whatever I need to do. I don't say do whatever I need to do, but let me I'll get the answer for you. And when we jump on our call next, I'll let you know. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
I think that kind of, it helps to build trust. And even if they don't buy right then, you've established a relationship, and they may buy later on down the line. Or what I found, they'll refer people to me.
exactly. Yeah, there have been a lot
So
of people that I've met that were not my ideal clients, but we built a relationship and now they bring people to me, I bring people to them, have referred me for paid speaking opportunities. Like you never know what value comes from having relationships with other people.
that's right. And I think we as women do that really well. Not
I
saying that men
agree.
can't do it, but I think we do that exceptionally well.
I agree.
I had one young lady that came on the show, and she said that, I think she says, and I'm paraphrasing,
Sure.
statistics show that women are better salespeople because we're able to, something to the effect of like, tap into people's emotions,
Yeah, that makes
or
sense.
to be able to elicit, what is it that's really important to that individual.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes
So
sense.
yeah. Okay. All right. So we were talking. So okay. So back on leadership, those are kind of like extensions of leadership.
Exactly.
But so you shared what, two tips, two major, I guess, takeaways for leadership. Anything else you could think of or that came to mind as we were talking?
So we talked about authenticity, we talked about, pouring into yourself too. Um, Kind of goes along with the pouring into yourself. And I think this has been a really hard one for me to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Is it's okay to say no?
Mm,
No, I've had to learn like no is a complete sentence. You can say no. You don't have to justify to anyone. And saying no to certain opportunities opens you up for different ones. And
right.
I, by nature, am a people pleaser. Like I am so relationship oriented that I want people to like me. I want people to be happy with me. I want to serve. And so saying no sometimes is really hard. And without those boundaries and without that protection of your space, your energy, your time, you're not going to be able to show up in ways that you need to. And that's really hard, especially as a business owner, when I will say for me, I have felt like, oh, well, if I don't go to that networking event, what if I miss out on a new client? Or if I say no to that podcast? Okay, well, just because you say no to it for today, what if you schedule it for 3 weeks from now? Like, even if you say yes to something, it doesn't have to be tomorrow.
Right.
Space out your schedule, space out your expectations. At
Mm-hmm.
least for me, I'm only going to speak for me. I often overestimate what I can get done in a day.
You
And then
do?
it causes me
Me
stress.
too.
Yeah. I see my clients do it a lot. Again, I think it's the mission driven people. We're like, yes, we can serve all these people. We can help all these people.
All right.
Exactly. And then we get through half of it and we're like, the imposter syndrome starts coming in of like, oh, am I really good at this? Why did I? No,
Right.
just learn to say no,
Right.
set your boundaries, set your healthy expectations, and the world will be a better place.
And
And
I'm
you will
thinking
be better.
about when you said learn to say no, I'm thinking like sometimes I even find myself when someone says no, and I have to catch myself. Sometimes I find myself getting, I don't know, like feeling some kind of way about that. Like I'm waiting. I'm like, okay, I'm waiting for the rest of it, but there is no rest of it. There doesn't
No,
have to be a rest of it. And it works the same way with me.
Yep.
that I can say, no,
No. And respecting that.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's a hard lesson to learn.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But yeah, all of this is and something you said earlier that your dad used to say was that leader. And let's make sure I'm getting this right. Leadership development is personal,
It's personal growth.
personal growth. I like that. I
Yes.
like that.
Yes, thank you, Scott Black. That's my dad.
Okay.
He would say that all the time, and I would, you hear your parents say things enough, and you just kind of like roll your eyes and think, "Okay, Dad."
Mhm.
And now that we operate in similar spaces as entrepreneurs, and we, share business advice back and forth, it's very funny when I hear myself saying things that then bring back, "Oh, I remember my dad saying that growing up," and leadership development is just personal growth. Like
Personal growth.
that
Yep.
is one of the biggest ones. And it's very justifiable then as a leader if you're trying to grow.
Right.
It's your knowledge, it's your skills, it's your abilities, it's your thoughts, your actions, right? And it's tied to you as a person.
And I think that also gives room for error,
Yeah,
or
we're not
having
perfect.
to pivot, right? Or having
No,
to have something not work out quite the way you wanted, or maybe you thought you had enough knowledge about it, but you come to find out you didn't. It
yeah,
leaves room for that because
exactly.
growing is a process. It's a process you're learning as you go.
Exactly.
You
Yeah,
know,
we are not expected to be experts at everything.
that's
And even
right.
experts make mistakes, they fall short, don't know everything. I mean, I love to give the example, like even with physicians, my husband's a physician. They go to training in school for
Hmm.
decades, but they're still constantly
You don't
learning.
know
Like
everything.
science is always changing, right? Like there's always stuff to learn.
Yeah.
And we are no different. Our
Mm-hmm.
businesses are ever evolving, the times are ever evolving, technology is ever evolving.
Mm-hmm.
School is never out for the professional, right? Like we're always learning and growing.
Always learning and growing. You are absolutely right about that. That's a part of life, and a healthy mindset.
Exactly.
Never feel like there's nothing for you to learn. So this is kind of what I want to end on, and then you can go ahead and tell the audience where they can find you.
Okay.
Is how I know you recently. Well, I don't know recently, but I know you have a team now. And I want to know, what was that process like for you deciding, I guess, who you needed, meaning like what area of expertise did they need to have? What did that look like for you coming up with those decisions?
First was looking at where my biggest time and energy sucks were.
Okay.
Um, I was in business a little over a year full time before I hired my first staff person, 2 years as a business, but a year full time. And all three of my staff are part time, but they still expand our capacity as a team to be able to serve. And when I first started like doing an inventory of within the 17 hats that I wear, or really
Hmm.
I think it's like seven. There's like seven departments in any business. Marketing was the one that I was like, if I could never have to touch social media again a day in my life, I would be happy.
They
That
have.
is not my area of expertise. It doesn't bring me joy. That's
Right.
not what I enjoy doing.
Hmm.
So I paid someone to do it. And I still help with the ideas, the content, but I'm not creating it, posting it, anything like that. So that was kind of the first thing, is like looking at where is sucking my time and my energy that I could be putting to income producing activities. And then
Okay.
the second was looking at where are we growing the fastest that we are going to have to start turning away clients if we do not build our capacity. So back in about March, I made the decision that if we continued growing at the rate that we have been for the last 9 months, then we were going to get to a point by the end of May, June, that I either could not serve any more clients or would have to turn away people, or the quality of which I was serving my clients would deteriorate. And neither of those things were what I wanted. And
Okay.
so very specifically looked for people within that kind of grant writing and project management areas of expertise, because
Okay.
that is the area in which we are growing the fastest. And it also takes the most time. You know, a grant,
And
most
research.
grants take hours between the research and the writing. And I saw it as a great opportunity to build up the next generation of leaders. Is if I could impart on them some of my skills and still be there from a supervisional standpoint, but let them build those skills and do the work, we're still serving our clients without
Right.
me having to be the one to do it. So giving up that control,
Okay.
it's still a work in progress. That is one of my, I'm really big. I love positive intelligence. They have a free assessment for the saboteurs, your self-limiting beliefs. And controller is my number one. I like to be in control of what's going on, or think I'm in control, right? So giving up that control of my baby, my business, has been difficult, but it's also been very freeing, because I am allowing these next leaders to step into their power, step into their strengths, and can just kind of be like this safety net to support them.
Okay. All right. Now, what was that called?
Positive intelligence.
Positive intelligence, and that's like a. Is it a long? Is it like the DISC assessment? Have you heard of that?
Yeah, so it's not a personality assessment. It's more so like a limiting beliefs assessment. There's 9, and it ranks you on them. And it's free. And the company has, you know, like coaching programs you can enter in a book and a podcast and all of that. But you can at least take the free assessment and see where you rank on your self-limiting beliefs. I went through a whole entire training program with them for 8 weeks over this last summer. But I have all of my clients take that assessment too. And then I also have them take Clifton Strengths, so that we know your strengths. And then we know, as you grow, what are those self-limiting beliefs or those saboteurs that are going to rear up while you're trying to make change.
Okay. I love it. Okay. Excellent. So thank you again for, coming on the show, giving your expertise. I've learned a lot. I'm pretty sure that the individuals that, are watching or are going to check us out are going to learn a lot from this episode as well. So, having said that, tell them again exactly where they can find you.
Sure. So I am on LinkedIn, Faith Rivera. You'll see a picture of me. I think I'm wearing a hat. I can't remember if I've changed my profile picture or not, but feel free to send me a message on LinkedIn and let me know that you heard me on the podcast. Would love to connect. Our website is www.alocivitas.com, and that has information on our services, our free weekly newsletter called The Weekly Compass. Feel free to subscribe. We give great information just on personal and professional tips for growth and change. And then we are on social media on Facebook and Instagram at Alo Civitas. So, feel free to connect with any of us or on any of those platforms. Let us know if there's anything we can do to help, or even just be there to learn a little bit extra.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much. It has been a pleasure having you on the show, Faith. It's we have had such an authentic conversation about leadership. I love it. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
it's been wonderful. Thank you.
All right. Well, take care of yourself. And everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you check out the other Born to Lead, or the other, yeah, Born to Lead docuseries. I kind of was thinking of the whole Born to Lead docuseries. For those of you that may not know, actually came from, I was the visionary author of a book titled Born to Lead: Awakening the Leader Within. So this Born to Lead docuseries has come out of that. So if you are interested in also being interviewed, connect with me again. As far as social media, I am primarily on LinkedIn and Facebook under Dr. Jacqueline Kaba-Harrison. My website is actually under construction, so I won't send you there, but definitely link up with me on either one of the social media sites, and let's have a conversation and make it happen. All right. Thanks again. Everyone, take care until next time. All right. Bye for now.